Meeting of August 5th. We'll note that all commissioners are present. First item of business is the order of business. Are there any changes to the order of business?
Move we approve the agenda.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I apologize. There was one matter added to the consent agenda, which I believe was placed at your tables, a fill dirt agreement for some excess fill from the Public Works building site.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Colling. So with that change, would there be a motion to approve the order of business?
I'll move we approve as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Second item of business then is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda you wish to discuss? I have a question on item G, the Caterpillar bid. If I read that correctly, Butler was the low bid as long as we were not taking a trade-in. Is that correct?
President Johnson, Commission, that's correct.
Did we decide not to trade in equipment?
That's what we decided to do. We decided that loader was needed at the current time, so that's why we accepted the CAT bid.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions regarding any of the items on the consent agenda? If not, would there be a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Altmans?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So the motion carries. We'll move to the non-timetable agenda. And the first item there is, I think, the public safety building architectural contract. Did I get that right, Mr. Colling?
That's correct, Mr. President.
And is there something, are you going to introduce it?
I am. Mr. President, Commissioners, just to give you a brief overview of the agreement, this is a architectural design contract with Schutz Foss Architects. They will be designing the public safety building, which will house the police department as well as the fire department. The agreement is a standard form AIA contract, provides for their responsibilities to work with the city as far as programming that building and providing the necessary structures within that building or design spaces within that building. The dates for completion of the design for the building and construction of the building are still somewhat left up in the air in this agreement. We will have to continue to negotiate with the architect in order to complete that process. This agreement does allow the ability of the city to decide to construct the building through a construction manager at risk design and procurement program if you choose to do so. You don't have to make that decision at this point, but should you choose to use a construction manager at risk in the future, this agreement would provide for that as well. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Colling. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, would there be a motion regarding this contract?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Any discussion on it? How is the architect being compensated, Mr. Colling?
Mr. President, the architect will be compensated based upon the percentage of the cost of the building. The more expensive the building construction costs are, the higher the fee goes for the architect. I believe it is capped at 8% around there for the total architecture fees for this project.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, would there be a motion regarding this contract? Do we have a second? Second. We have the motion and the second. Any discussion on it? How is the architect being compensated, Mr. Colling?
Mr. President, the architect will be compensated based upon the percentage of the cost of the building. The more expensive the building construction costs are, the higher the fee goes for the architect. I believe it is capped at 8% around there for the total architecture fees for this project.
Any other comments or questions? Not, we'll vote. Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. That brings us to reports. Mr. Kessel?
Thank you, President Johnson. Commission, I have several reports for you this evening. The first one is on the downtown Dickinson. We had a contingency of folks go down to Rapid City to view what they've done in their downtown area, the creation of the Main Street Square project. You have a rendering of that project as part of your materials. I think it's safe to say that we were all impressed by what Rapid City has been able to accomplish in their downtown. We went on a Thursday evening. There was representatives from DDG City and then several members of the Downtown Association that were present as well, and or business owners. We went down on a Thursday evening. They program their Thursdays much like happens in our downtown, where they close off several streets, public streets. And I would venture to say, although I'm not very good at estimating, people in crowd size, that there was probably 5,000 people in their downtown area on this event. They had two different musical acts going in two different parts of town, separated by approximately 2 blocks. One was in the Main Street Square location, of which you have that rendering, and then another, they just simply erected a stage and then closed off an area where they had beer gardens and such. It was quite impressive. The effort was mostly undertaken by the downtown business owners and or landowners. We were briefed beforehand for approximately 2 hours on how they arrived at the construction of their Main Street Square and of the other endeavors that make up their effort to revitalize their downtown. That project specifically was about a $6.5 million project, 3 of which was raised privately, and 3.5 which was raised through the city of Rapid City. So it was very impressive. We had a good conversation afterwards, and I think it's served to motivate a great many people to try and replicate something like what they have in downtown Rapid City here in Dickinson. So we, of course, had the architect, Gary Rettig, and DDG representative Brian Bachman there. We discussed further kind of the downtown area, what's the next steps in moving forward. One of those steps in moving forward is creating a design committee to work with the architect and DDG to put forth some concepts of what our downtown can be. And the recommendation is that we set up a 7-member committee made up of a DDG represent. When I say DDG, I'm talking about Dickinson Design Group. That's the group that we awarded the contract to. A representative from them, Chamber Director Whitman, 2 commissioners, 2 members of the Dickinson Downtown Association Steering Committee, myself, and then staffed with Planner Josephson and Architect Rettig. Commissioners Dukart and Steiner, I believe, have volunteered if the commission is okay with that. And then this evening, I believe present in the audience are members of the newly elected Downtown Dickinson Association Steering Committee. That steering committee will be moving forward to develop bylaws in the formal creation of an LLC that will become the Downtown Dickinson Association or something of that like. So there's 12 members that have been elected to that group, and my suggestion would be we choose a couple of those, or possibly they self-select a couple of those members who then would be on this design committee. We meet on a regular basis, and then bring that recommendation to the City Commission. So, Commissioner Steiner, you were with us. Would you like to add to those comments?
Well, I think a lot of all the people that went down to this here were very impressed with Rapid Cities, what they're doing. I don't think any of them would say that they disagree that it couldn't happen here. I think it can happen here. Obviously, I don't think we can do it on the size that they did down there, but it can happen here, and I think we got some good committee members put this here together. We got a good architect that wants to proceed here, and I think we're going to meet weekly if we can. I think we need two from the Dickinson Downtown Association, like you said. But it's exciting. It's going to be exciting going on, and the enthusiasm, and we look for input from all public aspects into what they'd like to see in the downtown improvement district. That being said.
That is one of the things that they did create is a business improvement district in order to tax themselves for the operations of this Main Street Center. So with that, I guess what we're suggesting tonight, it's not an item that you have to vote on, but please know that we'd like to move forward with the creation of this seven-member committee as I've outlined it for you. Certainly looking for input. If you had suggestions on different membership, I'd love to entertain those. But if not, we'll probably move forward with what I've outlined for you this evening. And I'm not sure if a member of the steering committee would like to address the commission this evening. Or?
Hello, my name is Jamie Hike, and we're really excited to be working with the city to help promote downtown Dickinson. I'm a business owner of Momo's Garden, which is on First, right underneath the Oddfellows, or right across from Quality Quick Print. And the past few weeks, we've elected or nominated people within the community to represent a steering committee for the Downtown Association. And voting closed this morning at 10 a.m. And so I am proud to announce to you the members that will be representing the Downtown Steering Committee. Those members are Liz Bollinger, Cami Havelka, myself, Kevin Holton, Christina Kitarowski, Bernie Marsh, Josh Nichols, Mike Riesinger, Christy Schwartz, Lori Stroman, Cooper Whitman, and Lori Willett. So as far as being part of the DDG group, we are really excited. I think we would appreciate to be able to meet first once as a team and maybe discuss and work with the commission on how to put somebody or two people onto that board. So that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no objections to Commissioner Dukart and Commissioner Steiner representing the commission on the board. Mr. Oltmans or Jackson?
Sounds great.
I think it's unanimous then. Do we need to do anything formally, or Mr. Bowling?
No, Mr. President, there would not be a formal motion required for that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited about this endeavor, and we'll work and bring progress updates to the commission then periodically. The next report that I have is I met with District 36 and 37 legislators with regard to our plans for infrastructure improvements. The plans that have been before you in terms of the policy, the prioritization policy, we reviewed that. We reviewed the map to get a view of where all of these improvements would be. And then we discussed each of those improvements individually so that they had a really good understanding of how we will be spending the dollars that the state has allocated to the city of Dickinson for infrastructure. They have a much better idea now of the totality of projects that are out there, the cost of those projects, and then their portion of the funding as it is allocated to those projects. I believe it was an excellent meeting, and I simply had a couple say, you know, the project list is so vast that, you know, it's eye-opening to look at that and look at the map and to see the cost and how a community that it levies, you know, $3.5 million in property taxes can take on such a large endeavor without partners. So we tried to drive home the fact that we do need those partners, and we need them to be, we need resources, and we need the state to come to the table. And they certainly have this legislative session, but maybe not to the degree that we hoped in the end. So it was a good meeting, and I just wanted to make sure that the commission was aware that that was held, and we had attendance by all members of legislative districts 36 and 37. Any questions about that one specifically? If not, then I also wanted to just let you know it is a status update on the Dakota Prairie Refinery. This is the MDU Calumet partnership to create a diesel topping facility about 3 miles west of town. We'll be providing them with reuse water for a couple different purposes, fire suppression, and for their refinery process also requires reuse water. And then we'll also be taking their effluent and treating that. So essentially, we'll be creating a large circle of pipes between the refinery and the city of Dickinson. The effluent side will also be partnering with the city of South Hart to connect to that line at Old Highway 10, and we'll also be treating then the effluent for the city of South Hart. So we have at least 3 different agreements, 2 with the Dakota Prairie Refinery, 1 with the city of South Hart, and then we also intend to have a third party utilize the excess reuse water that the refinery will not utilize. So there'll be an additional agreement that we have not yet ventured down the path of creating. So we're getting close, and it's a very difficult process because there's a lot of unknowns as we move forward, but I just wanted to give you a status update that we're getting closer. And then I also, which is not on the agenda, just wanted you to know that we got our formal notification of the $7 million oil impact grant. That grant will be used in totality to help pay for the West Lift Station and Force Main that will connect actually the Dakota Prairie Refinery, the city of South Hart, and much of our western development, west and northwest development, to our influent pump station and then to our new wastewater reclamation facility. So with that, that concludes my report, unless there's any questions this evening.
Were you going to comment on the thank you note at all? Or is that just there for our?
That's we oftentimes get thank you notes. This one was from the Reeder Prairie Pioneers. This is a part of the funds that we give back in sales tax dollars, and so we oftentimes get thank yous for that funding. And this funded a mentoring program.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions for the city administrator? Okay, we'll move on to tab 5, public safety. First item we have there is regarding the DUI ordinance. And Mr. Colling, are you introducing that?
I am, Mr. President, Commissioners. As you may be aware, the state legislature this past session passed a new state law regarding driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, generally increasing the penalties for a DUI offense. And this ordinance seeks to incorporate those state-level penalties into our municipal code. This would allow our city police officers to cite first or second DUI violations in a municipal court, and then in the event that fees and fines are paid, those are paid to municipal court rather than through the district court system. In the main, for the city's purposes, there are 3 basic changes that this ordinance makes. It increases the fine for a first DUI offense from $250 to $500. For a second offense, it increases the fine from $500 to $1,500. It also makes it an offense, a separate offense, if a driver refuses to submit to a blood test or a breath test by the police officer in order to determine whether or not they are over the legal limit. There are also some additional penalties with regard to extended jail time for a DUI offense, either first or second offense, as well as the second offense would also require the offender's participation in the 24/7 sobriety program that the state operates. For your record keeping, this would be, this would be ordinance 1516, and city staff would recommend approval, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Colling, if there's anybody from the public that would wish to comment regarding this proposed ordinance, you may do so now. Just come to the podium, state your name, and we'll hear your comments. Anybody from the public? There's no one from the public that wishes to comment. Are there comments or questions by city commissioners? Not, would there be a motion regarding the first reading of ordinance 1516?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1516.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have the motion and the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. Item B is a report by Officer Ron Van Dorn on community events. So, welcome, Officer Van Dorn. It's been a while since you've been up here.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Commissioners, good evening. I've been asked by Chief Dosker to give kind of an update on what we've been up to with the PD as far as our community involvement program, school resource program and such. So as of the first of the year, we did a little switching of manpower, pushed our guys around some different areas where we needed to do some things here and there. One of the things that Chief Dossinger asked of me the first of the year was to bring back some programs that we've kind of let go by the wayside a little bit. And he used the decision to do this because, again, we want to be part of the community and let everybody else within the community know that we want to be there for them. Some of the programs that we thought were the best bang for our dollar, if you will, Badlands Crime Stoppers. We're bringing that back, and that's a program where citizens can call in and be anonymous and not have to say who they are and give us tips and hints. We're really fortunate that with our oil field activity building the way it is, these guys really want to back the city of Dickinson. And I have to tell you that from talking to them, they're 100% behind us on things. They're the first ones to pop out and say, here's some money for some reward monies, here's some money to get your programs up and running. And they want to continue that for us, so we've been very fortunate. I would like to actually mention a couple of them that were some big contributors to those two programs. One of them was Marathon Oil and the other one was Oxy. So those companies, I would like to personally thank those guys for what they've done for us too. The second one was a Neighborhood Watch program. Now this is a program that we've done for years and years and kind of got away from too a little bit. This involves more of the community than it just does the police department. It's not our program. It's the community's program. It's a way for them to get back to their neighborhoods. And with all the new people we have moving into our area here, it's a really easy way for them to set up block parties and get to know each other. Keep an eye on what's going on. It's so much easier if we have somebody call and report things. Years back, we used to tout, hear it, see it, report it. And that's kind of the basics for that. And that's kind of what we're doing with that program. Some monies from both oil field companies and a couple others too have also been given for those programs. They are very self-supportive. We try to get the neighborhoods to do a lot of that themselves. If they want guidance from us, if they want us to meet with them, talk to them about issues within their neighborhood, no problem. We're in the process right now of getting signs out in those neighborhoods. And so once we get those things up and running, there are actually right now, I think 9 neighborhoods that are being current with it. Most of the calls we get are for dogs running loose, but what the heck, at least they're still calling us. So this year we're also bringing back another program called National Night Out. Tomorrow, October 6th, is actually National Night Out. We are going to also be involved in this year with the police department. We partnered up with the Dickinson Fire Department and their staff as well in this. And what it is, it's a program to fight crime. And it's, again, getting people out into their neighborhoods, doing block parties, those kind of things to find out what we're up to. Well, I was kind of tasked with putting a program together. Chief Sivak and his staff have stepped right up and said they would help us with everything we need. We're involving both local fire departments, EMS, our Life Flight service here, and Highway Patrol, and also the Sheriff's Office in this event. It'll take place on Thursday evening at the Bijou Activity Center. Be from 5 until 8:30. We have got games for children. We were able to acquire a band to play for free, so we're going to have some live entertainment there for the evening. And we are also serving hamburgers and hot dogs that evening for free to the community. So we're hoping this really brings a lot of people out. It's been a long time since we've done this program, so it's kind of hard to judge how Thursday night's going to go for us. I've heard you guys all talk about the downtown thing and revitalizing it. We're not doing this on a Thursday night to try to cover that program with it Alive at 5. I think it's a great program. Another program we did this summer is our Dickinson Police Association. donated the jumping castles to the kids downtown so they didn't have to pay for it during Alive at 5 one night this year. Got cut a little short with the tornado siren thing, but yet we did get it down there for them, and we want to do some of that. Put our banner out, let them know that we are the police department, and we had our officers down there and kind of shaking paw and talking to people so they get to know who we are. That was also helped, a big share of the program on Thursday night was paid for by Marathon Oil, and I want to make that very clear. They gave us a couple $1,000s for that program. So again, showing their commitment to our community too. As far as the school resource officer program goes, it's back to business as normal. I started back in December again with the school district, and throughout the summer in contact with them several times, trying to work out some issues that are coming up with some demographics and people moved into town and some of the problems that may arise from that. So we're right on track with that. We're really looking forward to another good year with them, and possibly even down the line looking for that second officer that we've talked about for several years. So that's all I have for you. If you have any questions.
Any comments or questions for Officer Van Dorn?
I just have one. I'm not sure if the police department puts the signs up by Rocky View Park or if it would be the responsibility of the park board. I noticed last night there was scooters going around and around the park, and I've been pretty good at going out and telling them they can't, but there really isn't good signage that there shouldn't be any motorized vehicles. There's only one, and it's hidden by trees right now.
Okay. We're talking motorized scooters, ma'am?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
Yep,
some
I'll,
motorcycles have been up there.
So what I'll do is I'll take a look at it tomorrow and find out who I need to get to for the right signage. We'll get it taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
That's pretty simple. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll go to engineering. We have timetables coming up, but we can probably get one or two project updates in. So, Bill, did you?
Mr. President, Commission, I do have a short presentation to make tonight, so I don't know if you want to delay my activities here until after the,
Oh, okay. You have PowerPoint?
yes.
Okay. Well, I don't-
I can start if you want.
no, we'll go back to the timetable agenda and we'll see who's here and can start, okay?
Okay.
So, we do have a 5 o'clock timetable agenda item, and that's a project update on the landscaping effort on Highway 22. Okay, is it okay if we start a little early? Okay. This is A.J. Wallavand?
Yes,
Okay, thank you and welcome.
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is AJ Wallavand, as you can see by the listing, and I'm a landscape architect with Altec Engineers. I've been working with city engineering and community development, along with the DOT, to help get this project going and get it through the DOT bid. It is currently scheduled for November bid through the DOT, and I'm just going to give a very brief overview of where we're really at. It's a corridor that's going to take us from just north of I-94 all the way up Highway 22 to the county line. It's about 6 miles, a little bit less, so we've got quite a stretch, but we are going to be bringing in a number of varieties of trees in order to enhance the corridor. The key elements as we've been moving through this process have been considerations for utilities, the overhead lines. There's quite a few of them, so many of the plant materials that we have are shorter, smaller ornamentals. Here's a small cross-section of the plant list. We actually have about 24 different species that we will be incorporating into the project. And they also include evergreens as well as deciduous. And these plants have been spaced, like we said, consideration for utilities, existing signs, so that the view sheds are maintained for existing billboards. And we've just been working through the project. We're currently about 90% through the design process. We are still waiting for utility responses to see if they have any concerns with what we have currently placed, and have the opportunity to make adjustments as we move forward. Really, as I said, very brief presentation. Here's part of the corridor, and here's some potential of what we could have, bringing in a few trees. Are there any questions?
What size?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What size trees will be planted to start with?
It's going to depend on the variety. The smaller ornamentals will need to be putting in smaller calipers, but we're looking at trying to have a minimum of 1 inch, possibly 1.5, and we're looking at some larger installs of 2-inch calipers for the deciduous. When it comes to the evergreens, looking at a minimum of 3.5 feet and possibly slightly taller depending on the variety.
And you said the project would bid in November?
DOT bid in November for a spring installation.
And, okay, so by this time next year, we'll be looking at trees.
That is the plan.
Good. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're running a little early. Mr. Scheuer, are you prepared to start 10 minutes or 15 minutes early on your presentation? Okay, we'll do that. And Ben will be giving us an update on the Bayview Activity Center.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. President and Commission, and appreciate everybody allowing me to come back again for our annual update on the Bayview Activity Center. This time last year, our facility was still the Badlands Activity Center, so we did rename our facility last October over homecoming weekend in honor of our long-term professor and head football coach, Henry Bijou. So that was one of the biggest things that has taken place within the facility last year, the renaming of the facility, and then all the, I know I spent probably a couple months after that just getting everything switched over from signage to publications and information, and you know, you Google our name online, you got to change all that as well. So, but it's been great that we've been able to rename that facility in honor of Coach Bijou and have that obviously be a cornerstone of the facility here in Dickinson. So. I just want to get started with a few updates. I do have some things here I just want to update the community on and give some people information on what's going on at the BAC. As you got there in your hands, that football schedule I just actually finished up this afternoon, so you guys are the first ones to see that, and that'll be going out on our website and throughout the community here in the coming days. And then I also have some information there on our club seat packages that we're selling this fall as well, and those have changed since what we had 3 years ago. So. But first I want to give an update on our rentals at the BAC. We finished our third full fiscal year this past June, and we finished the year, again, very successful and very busy. This past year we had 311 events through the facility, so the year before we were at about 320, so we pretty much stayed as busy as we were the year before. Within that 300 number that we had 35 athletic events, 30 events that was with the university, the Booster Club, and then the community obviously had the main majority of rentals, which is about 246. So again, we're used regularly with business meetings. We have a lot of energy companies that are using our facility for employee training and safety training workshops. Wedding receptions is kind of a hot topic over the summer at the facility. Obviously during the fall we're very busy on Friday nights and Saturdays with football games. During the spring, we have track season. Through the winter season, we have quite a few holiday parties and charity events and different things. So, you know, the sky's the limit. If you're looking for meeting space or event space for a different event, make sure you keep us in mind and give us a call and see if we can help you out. So, as far as the operating budget, again, as we closed our third fiscal year, we did finish up in the black again this year. Our total revenues for fiscal year 2013 was $206,971, and our total expenses for the last fiscal year, which would have been 2013, was $183,383. So, at a difference there of a little over $23,000 that we were able to finish out the last fiscal year and put aside into our long-term maintenance account for the future when we need to obviously replace the track and the turf. So. We're excited that we were able to obviously be responsible last year with our finances and continue to operate in a great way. So as far as the debt service, I'm pretty sure everybody should know that the Alumni Foundation holds the debt service on the facility. That includes the fixed and variable interest loans, And as of July 15th of this year, there's a remainder of $4.4 million left on the building. We started with a $9 million loan, I believe, so it's definitely over halfway paid off in the 3 years that it's been open. Of that $4.4 million that we owe yet on the facility, $2.4 million is pledged, and then there's a difference of $2 million that we have yet to, we need to raise to finish out the debt service. So it's an update there on the debt service on the facility. Football schedule, as you have there, we've got 15 football games scheduled for this fall. It's coming quickly. Our first game is on August 27th, so that's here in just a few weeks. And we open up on a Thursday night game. The Blue Hawks will be playing Montana State Northern University, and a night game, which is going to open our season. So, then after that, obviously, Dickinson High School has their homecoming game on September 6th. Trinity High School's homecoming game is on September 27th, and then the Blue Hawks homecoming game is on October the 5th. So, again, a busy season this year with 15 games, and we look forward to another exciting season and having the community come out and support their individual schools. So, also, Labor Day weekend this year, the BAC, we do have the foundation who's put together kind of a Labor Day weekend activities. They're bringing in college, the CBR, the College Bull Riding Series, within, and in addition to two concerts. Sammy Kershaw will be coming to the BAC on Friday night, August the 30th, and then Joe Diffie will be playing there on the Outdoor Rodeo Arena, the grass area, on August 31st. So we're excited to host our first outdoor concert here in Dickinson, obviously at the BAC on that Friday night. So we're hoping everybody can make plans to attend that as well. And then also homecoming week is September 29th through October 5th. There's a lot of activities that are planned that our student bodies put together this year. That Sunday they have a chili cook-off that they invite the community to, and they bring together people that want to, make chili and have it judged, and they give out prizes for the best chili that night. There's a powder puff football game that evening, and then I think that Wednesday of that week they offer a movie for the community to come out and see. And then new this year, they're bringing in Casey Abrams, and he's going to put on a concert as well for the community, and it'll be obviously open to the university community as well. So another concert to look forward to that's going to be outdoors this year, or this fall at the BAC. And then last on my list here is our club seat packages. When the facility was open, we had club seats that were sold for a 3-year commitment. Since then, this past fall, that commitment ended, and we've come out with new packages. We did come out with a different package back in December, but since then, some of the logistics and some of the, as far as selling them, hasn't worked out too well. So we reformatted. We've met with both high schools. We met with the Booster Club and the foundation and the university and discussed and spent a lot of time and ideas and efforts to figure out how we can fill our seats and at the same time still support the BAC and help cover that debt service responsibility that we do have through the foundation. So what we've come up with now is we're offering 3 separate packages, one for each team or each school. We have a Blue Hawk package available, a midget package available, and a Titan package available. And these are single-year commitments. Obviously, if you're a football fan of the Blue Hawks or the Midgets or the Titans, you can buy a club seat. The club seats do have benefits, obviously. Trying to find my information here. Some of the benefits, obviously, it is a reserved seat, so that's one of the main benefits. If you're coming up to the game late or you're late to the game, you still have a prime seat. All our club seats are located within the 40-yard lines there, right in the middle of the stadium. They are theater-style seats. They've got chair backs, they've got armrests, they've got extra leg room compared to the general bench seating. So that's some of the benefits as well. We've added in this year a free box of popcorn in each game. And also for the Blue Hawk games, the foundation puts on a club lounge during those games where refreshments are served. So that's another benefit to being a club seat holder. So that's some packages that are available out there. The Blue Hawk packages right now are selling for $360 a seat. That does include general admission. So if you have a club seat, you can walk right in. You don't have to wait in the ticket line. So that's another added benefit. I know people that are running late, that sometimes you don't get there till kickoff. If you're tailgating during a Blue Hawk game and you have a club seat, you can come right in when the game starts and you don't have to get there in advance and find a seat. So, and then both high school packages are selling for $150 a seat. And we've agreed with the high schools that $50 of anybody that buys a club seat for the high school, 50 of that dollars will go back to those high school athletic departments. So we're giving them obviously some incentive to help us sell those, but in return they can benefit from selling the seats and having their fans in the seats. So we have those packages available, and obviously the community is open to purchasing those. Businesses are open to purchasing those. I know some businesses buy them and then they give them back to their employees as kind of a appreciation or benefit to working for their business. So it's always neat to see when a company buys 4 or 6 seats and they give their tickets away for a certain game. And we have different people coming from those businesses. So we do have those club seats for sale, and we got our first game on August 29th. So if you're interested, let us know and we'll get you signed up. So. In closing, again, the BAC and DSU would like to publicly thank the City of Dickinson and all the businesses and individuals here in town that continue to annually support the BAC and help it be as successful as it is each year. So we're proud to be one of the crown jewels of the Queen City of Dickinson. So if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer those. And again, thank you for your time and allowing me to give the community an update on what's going on over there. So.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Scheuer. Are there any comments or questions?
How's your attendance been on the outdoor movie night?
Oh, yeah. I actually had that here on my list and I forgot. So they've been excellent. This year we hosted 2 outdoor movie nights. We had one in June and one in July. Our June attendance was 320 and our July attendance was 350. So they've been excellent. So,
Mr. Kessel?
Ben, you mentioned that the Blue Hawk package included the actual tickets to the game. Is that true of the Midget and Titan package as well?
The Midget package, it is. The Titan package, you have to buy general admission.
Okay.
So Trinity decided, since they sell so many season passes, that it wasn't going to be quite beneficial for them to include the general admission in with the club seat packages. So they still wanted to keep the general admission separate. So.
Okay.
Yep, Blue Hawk packages and the Midget packages do include the general admission ticket. So. And that's one less thing you have to kind of juggle. You got to get a general admission ticket, and then you got your club seat ticket. So now, with those 2 packages, you got 1 ticket. And that's all you got to worry about. So.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready for the engineering report. So.
Very well. Tonight, Mr. President, Commission, tonight I would like to update you on a couple of issues that the engineering department is dealing with at this time. First, the 40th Street project from Highway 22 east to 7th Avenue. This is one of our CIP projects, actually number 24 of the 27 projects that we hope to have constructed by the end of the construction season in October. Oops. Part of the problem, that one of the big problem, the biggest problem here on the 40th Street project, as we found out after we got into the design, is the stormwater issues. You'll note that the big black arrows there on the left indicate the stormwater runoff that's entering into the intersection, both from the northwest and from the southwest. And these flows combine to make a stormwater flow that's very excessive. It's estimated that these flows are going to cost the stormwater construction, the stormwater drain construction, to approximate $6 million just for the stormwater alone. And that's about equal to what the street construction is going to be. So the street construction there is shown in blue. The stormwater is shown in the pink purplish color. The storm drain pipe itself would be about 8 feet in diameter at portions along this route. And actually, we could not get enough cover over the pipe to even cover the pipe up in some of these locations. So the best solution that we can come up with is to try to detain some of the water coming into the intersection at Highway 22 and 40th Street. So, excuse me, our initial plan is to try to talk the landowners in on the northwest corner there to donate 20 acres so we could develop a regional stormwater detention facility. Unfortunately for the landowner there, that the area that we would need is in the corner of that intersection. And we would need about 20 acres in order to detain the 100-year flow there, in order so that we could downsize the stormwater drain facility that we would need to install along 40th Street alignment. There are some other opportunities that Wyoming Casing is a possibility. We could install a detention pond there, and we could do some additional ponding along the 40th Street alignment, but our biggest option and our best option is to try to acquire the 20 acres in the northwest quadrant of the intersection, so we can reduce the cost to some value that's reasonable. And this area, we have enlisted Mr. Kessel to help us secure that land, and I believe he's working on that for us now. Do you have any?
Watson,
Yes.
at one time, there was some discussion about an open channel instead of a pipe.
The discussion is still there, but I'm not sure that the open channel could even carry the volume of water for the 100-year flood. And still get our cross-section in there for the street itself. Or do you have any other questions? Or shall we go to the Lamont development? This is, the Lamont development is the development number 53 of 94 active developments that we're currently tracking in the engineering department. It's been an issue for the city for over a year and a half, possibly two. It's the property just south of the new Saks Motors building. You can see where the overland flow there is about 53 acre-feet of stormwater that actually dumps onto the Lamont property there. You see the Lamont property is north, just north of the Hampton Inn over on 14th Street West. This Lamont property is responsible by law to convey all that stormwater across their property. But it's very expensive for them, and they have concocted some ideas to install some double-barrel box culverts and some other expensive solutions to convey that stormwater across their property. And even if they can convey that stormwater across the property, our system south of the Hampton Inn is not large enough to carry that amount of stormwater. So again, we have devised a solution to convert an existing neighborhood park to be used in a dual purpose as a detention pond during heavy rainfall, and it would be allowed, of course, the park would still be there, it would just be depressed. And so this is an idea that we've come up with, and again, Mr. Kessel is working with the park board in order to secure this property so that we can move forward and detain the water before it ever gets, much of the water during the 100-year event before it gets to the Lamont property. In addition to the overland flow from the north, there's a serious problem in the Diamond Acre subdivision to the right of the Lamont property and the neighborhood park. This this area of town floods drastically in a storm event. The stormwater system was not installed properly there, and the grades are not conducive to proper stormwater flow, and this area gets inundated with standing water in a storm event. And we're hoping that this whole solution could not only solve the overland flow issue for the Lamont property, but hopefully help out the Diamond Acre area to maybe help drain those neighborhoods. So this is just one of the small details that the engineering department is currently trying to work through on one of the many developments that have come through. And this has really been an ongoing problem for the engineering department. Like I said, over the last 2 years, we just haven't been able to satisfactorily allow the Lamont property to move forward with their development because we just can't figure out what to do with the stormwater. And this solution would offer a resolution to that issue that we've been having over the last 2 years before that I ever got here. So, with that, I'd be glad to answer questions.
Any comments, questions for the city engineer regarding those two issues? They appear to be pretty significant issues.
Yes, sir.
On the last map that you had up in green, running east and west, you had it labeled 16th row, I think, or 16th?
The 16th Street right-of-way.
Is that the right-of-way? Okay.
Yeah.
So that had nothing to do with the water at that point?
Well, no, but that is a vacant right-of-way. There's no street there, so we could convert that right-of-way to use that also as part of the detention facility.
Okay.
It doesn't make much sense for us to build a detention pond and then have it separated from the property that it's actually protecting by a street that goes across, actually, and the street really wouldn't go anywhere anyway.
Right.
So my recommendation then would be to, if this goes through, would be to vacate that property and use that right away.
And then you mentioned the Diamond Acres, the standing water there, would it flow towards the detention pond?
We're hoping so. I'm having some preliminary engineering done to evaluate that at this time.
Okay.
That park is a little bit off the beaten path, and it's a small one unless you're actually driving by and kind of craning your neck. You can't even tell that it's there. Now, if it was depressed as a holding pond during a rain event, then would that park be closed to prevent people from going in if it's filling with... Walk me through the depression of the park. Is the equipment still in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually this is done quite a bit in metropolitan areas where the land is so valuable. So a lot of times the area is used for soccer fields where you don't have a lot of infrastructure that's needed in order for your games. In this case, I believe, I was just out there this morning, in this case they have a small diamond, ball diamond that's all grassed. In fact, you can see that it's not even being used very much. And then a small playground area. So that really the park is not being used that much, and it really just depends on the hydraulics and the hydrology, how much we need to detain there, on how deep we would have to make it. Again, we're still doing the studies on that. We're not sure how deep we would have to depress that. But at this point, it seems like the only solution we have for the problem we have out there with the stormwater. Well, I take that back. The land north of that park and south of Sachs Motors just happens to be for sale. There's 10 acres of property there, and the realtor had their sign up, and so I called him this morning to ask him what that was all about. And there's 10 acres there for sale, and they want $2.5 million for it. So that is an option but not nearly as attractive as the option, as the free option that we would get using the park.
Mr. President, you know, I think the park option is something that certainly should be pursued. Most of us know that Lamont property is the KDIX property. It was owned by KDIX radio station for many, many years. It's always had a stormwater issue for many, many, many years. We also have a tremendous groundwater issue in that area that I'm not sure would be solved. I'm not sure would be helped by what we might do in the park.
I think, Commissioner Jackson, I think one of the biggest issues is that our infrastructure south of Hampton is only a 42-inch stormwater drain. And so whatever comes across there, our facilities just cannot handle that in order to convey that to the interstate right-of-way and underneath that and convey that then over to the Dickinson ditch. So it's somewhere along the line, we're either going to have to detain the water or build bigger infrastructure from the Hampton Inn south. And I think the detention pond is more attractive from a cost analysis.
I would think so. I guess I bring up the groundwater thing because I don't think people should have expectations on the Lamont property that will be solved with what we might do in the park. We need to make sure there's not that expectation.
I am hopeful that they are very cognizant of the fact that I'm just trying to help them cure their stormwater issues.
President.
Mr. Steiner?
Mr. Watson, we're talking about a lot of issues with water problems and so on. I'm hearing some things about issues up in the Cook subdivision, sewer and so on. Can you update us on what the problems are there?
Well, I'm not sure there is any issues with sewer, but there are some issues with the detention facility that the Cook Meadows folks built up there. I'm not sure that the outfall from that detention facility was properly sized, and I think it may be allowing too much outfall from the detention and therefore providing more flow than necessary downstream. Part of the issue in that whole area downstream from the Cook Meadows is that in fact it is part of the floodplain, and there are folks out there that have constructed in or near the floodway, and so some of the folks that are being quote unquote flooded are in fact in the floodplain. So that is that's probably the biggest issue, is the expectation of some of these folks not being flooded when in fact they're in the floodplain.
Is that why some of them have to put in their in-house lift station, so to speak?
Sump pumps?
Sump pumps?
Well, I'm thinking that's probably groundwater. You know, I'm not sure. I haven't heard that there was an issue with sump pumps. I have not heard that.
It was kind of referred to me as more of a lift station type of pump than a sump pump.
Commissioner Steiner, if I may, there were some issues with sanitary sewer in that subdivision. Basically, it was construction.
And I think you're talking about another issue.
Okay.
Is that the plug that was left in?
I didn't know if that was what you were referring to.
That's part of the other issue. I heard two different issues, but we can go to that one if you'd like. Has the engineering firm or the contractor been notified for the damage done by that plug being left in?
Yes, Attorney Colling has worked on that, and letters have been sent. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but we have been dealing with it.
Commissioner Steiner, if I may, yes, the developer has been made aware of the damages that were caused by that incident. For the commission's benefit and the public, it looks like a sewer plug was left in by the contractor, the developer, and that caused a sewer backup in a house on Wall Street on the Cook Meadow Hill subdivision. Under our sewer backup ordinance, It states in that ordinance that the sewer backup fund is not available for damages that are caused by a contractor or some other third party. That they're available only for failure of the city system, for some negligence on behalf of the city. Since that wasn't the case, we did not pay on that claim, on that sewer backup claim that was made, and have viewed that as a matter of private negotiation between the homeowner and the developer. I understand that those conversations may be taking place, but we have not been involved in those.
I don't know if they're getting any headway with that. Is there anything we can do as a city to move that along with the developer, so they can step up and take responsibility?
We have had conversations with the developer on this issue. This developer has other properties that it is hoping to plat and rezone, as well as we're trying to work through some issues that are remaining on the Cook Meadow Hill subdivision and finishing that project up. So we are having those conversations with the developer and encouraging him in whatever we can that he would step up and take care of those costs and reimburse the homeowner in full.
Can you keep us updated on what's happening there?
We'll do so.
Thank you.
What does that mean, Mr. Colling, plug was not removed? Never heard of that term.
Well, Mr. Zuroff may be able to explain the technical details on the sewer plug and what that involves.
I believe they just, when they were working on another portion of the sewer main, they put a sewer plug, a plug in the sewer main to either do work or I don't know if they were pressuring up the main or what they were doing, but that plug, once construction was done, it was not removed. So it was actually an aired up plug in the line, not allowing anything to flow through.
Thank you.
Who's responsible for okaying that as being ready to use? Did the developer let us know, or do we inspect it at the city? Or?
Well, actually, in the past, very few. The city really has not had very good control over what's been going on in the right-of-way. We've been talking about this extensively over the last few commission meetings. And so actually no one has been looking at this. So we've been just, for the most part, taking the word of the contractors. I guess in the case of the sewer lines, Gary, is Jeff going out and inspecting those, or how is that working?
Normally previously, in prior years, the city did televise the sewer lines before accepting them. That got to be a lot of work for the sewer water department with all the development, so now it's up to the contractor to televise the lines. My understanding that I think on this they were televised, but they had to go back in to do something else that we were not aware of, and the plug was placed and then not removed.
Mr. Watson, is this a good case of where contractors went into our right-of-way and put this in without us knowing about it?
Well, no, we knew about it, but it's an excellent case for I guess it would be an excellent situation to expand on for the use of a consultant engineer to do the inspection within our right-of-way. If we would have had our inspectors out in the field after they were done and inspected it before they filled it up again, then we would have caught that, rather than just take the contractor's word for it was ready to go.
Thank you.
Is there anything else for the city engineer? Any other reports, Bill?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go back to the timetable agenda. At 5:30, we have a municipal court update by Attorney Becky Grant. So welcome, Ms. Grant.
Thank you. Mr. President, City Commissioners, my name is Becky Grant. The purpose of the memorandum that I had submitted in this presentation is to update the Commission on the status of the municipal prosecution contract as we've completed our second quarter of 2013. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. As you are all aware, we began prosecuting for the City of Dickinson on January 1st, 2012. The first quarter report presentation was before this commission on May 6th, 2013. Our firm has opened and prosecuted over 1,256 files. Currently, we have 507 active files. This slide offers a comparison of the amount of criminal citations issued between 2011, 2012, 2013 for the months of April, May, and June. As you can see, the number of criminal citations issued for all of the represented months have decreased or remained the same since 2012. This slide offers a comparison of the total revenue generated from criminal and traffic citations between 2011, 2012, and 2013 for April, May, and June. The total revenue generated from traffic and criminal citations has increased from 2012 for each of the represented months. The month of April represents the highest monthly revenue ever generated by a municipal court. We continue to handle municipal prosecution matters by appearing in court 3 times per week. Our scheduled court times and types of appearances are listed on the slide. Additionally, I've continued to meet with Attorney Colling each week at the conclusion of municipal court to discuss ongoing municipal prosecution matters when his schedule allows for it. During the second quarter of 2013, our firm handled 5 bench trials and obtained convictions in all. There are currently 4 misdemeanor bench trials scheduled for August and early September. The most pressing is a disorderly conduct trial that's scheduled for this Thursday. We've continued to provide the Commission with information regarding the remand process we initiated in January 2012. Since that time, we've remanded 207 cases. Those remanded cases have generated $97,185 for the City of Dickinson. Looking at 2013 numbers alone, we've remanded 63 cases, and that has generated $33,620 for the City of Dickinson. Attorney Colling touched on the new DUI legislation previously, so I won't walk you through this entire slide again. 2 things that I would note that weren't mentioned before. You can see there is now 2 different sentencing schemes for first offense DUIs, and that is based on the breath sample that defendants submit at the scene. So if there is a blood sample of breath, blood, or urine sample of less than 0.16, the first sentencing scheme would apply. If it is over 0.16, it's now termed an aggravated DUI, and the second sentencing scheme would apply. I'd also note that on the DUI second offense, there's now a 7-year look-back period. Previously, there was a 5-year look-back period. Currently, there are several criminal complaint requests that we have received from the City of Dickinson's code enforcement officer. We should have those reviewed shortly, hopefully by the end of the week. And with that, I'll take any questions from the commissioners.
Thank you, Mrs. Grant. Are there any questions or comments?
Ms. Grant, for the public that's watching, the slide that you had showing the number of complaints in 2011, which were significantly less, I gather that's because of the more intense work you've been doing since that time, that 2012 and 2013, a significantly higher complaints.
Are you referring to the revenue or the citations issue?
The citations, the number.
Though, as far as the criminal citations, they have decreased since 2012, at least for the months of April, May, and June.
But I think 2011 was significantly less.
Yes, it was.
And
there was an incredible spike in criminal activity since 2011, between the years of 2011 and 2012.
Okay.
Also, we have charged a significant number of crimes on our own accord.
Okay, thank you.
I think what Mr. Jackson was trying to get at, between 2012 and 2011, we changed prosecutors, and so was the change in, or the increase in complaints more because we changed prosecutors or more because we had more bad behavior present in the community?
I think it was a combination, Mr.
Combination.
President.
Okay.
We had also increased our police force during that time, so we had more eyes on the street, which
That's
you're going
true.
to catch more activity with that too.
That's correct.
Dusty Dossinger became chief. That was the big issue right there, right? We had lots of changes. Well, it seems to be working quite well. I used to get complaints, and now I don't get complaints, so.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We have a 5:45 timetable agenda item. We're just slightly ahead of that, but let's see, that would be the water reclamation facility. Can we go early on that? So we have Carla Olson and Mike Berg here, and you're not Mike Berg. No. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, President Johnson, Commission, City staff, for the opportunity to come back and give you an update on the water reclamation facility. I believe the last time I was here was probably March or April, just to give you an update of how things were going. And that's why I'm here again. I'm sure you get the monthly pay requests at the second meeting of the month each month. And just thought it would be good to update you on where we're at with status, construction schedule, and costs. So my presentation again has, similar to before, the construction photos. I did do the overall progress, not just since I was here last. And feel free to interrupt at any time if you have any questions. They've pretty much gotten started on every process throughout the plant, so my presentation just follows the front end of the plant to the back end of the plant, the way the water will flow through. The first area I'm going to show you is the pretreatment facility. The screenings and grit, that's where the raw wastewater enters the plant, and you can see this was early spring, or late spring, excuse me. They started excavation and started the bottom pump vault and grit sump area. Here's a little later in the summer, they've started bringing it from the bottom up. You can see now a lot of the walls are there. In fact, now last time I was out the end of last week, it is backfilled, and they'll begin putting the walls up on the building shortly throughout the fall. The next area is the IFAS. That's the main biological process reactor at the facility. This we did have quite a bit of progress when I was here last. They started, this was one of the first tanks they started. You can see excavation starting last fall, the base slab of the tank, the rebar as they're placing that, and this was through the fall. You can see it's getting towards winter with the snow. Some of the walls were being poured throughout winter. And right now, this is a fairly current photo as of last week. All the tank walls are done. The concrete for it's nearly finished. Now it's just the equipment going in and the handrail. So this tank's in pretty good shape as far as concrete. Next is the final clarifiers. This is something they just started excavation within the last month or two. This is the deepest area of the plant as far as the tanks. You can see excavation and some of the rock they encountered in the excavation. Here's one of the clarifiers once they had all the rock cleared out and start leveling the base. Here's the rebar mat for the base of the slab. You can see during the concrete pour. And then they started bringing in forms. You can see they have the rebar in place. And in fact, I think the end of last week, they poured the first section of wall. Next is the UV administration building. That building, half of it is a slab on grade that they haven't started with, but the other half does contain process equipment, and there's a clear well. So they're starting at the bottom and working their way up. You can see the excavation and the bottom slab for that UV and the pumping clear well area, and just bringing it up out of the ground. They'll get all that side done and backfilled, and then start bringing in the slab on grade and the walls for the entire building throughout the fall. You can see they're just getting close to having the clear well poured. Next is the process control building. I did speak about this quite a bit last time as well. They started this excavation last fall. This is a below grade building where a lot of our pumping takes place, a lot of the process pumping. You can see the basement's just coming out of the ground. They're pouring the slab, working on the bridge crane on the inside. This is through the winter. You can see the progress. Here's the precast walls going up. This is the look of every building out at the plant. That'll give you an idea of what the buildings will look like. They're working on roofing right now, and so that building, they'll be able to work on the electrical and setting equipment. Next, the biosolids digester tanks, and this was started last fall as well, the excavation. There's the slab being leveled, ready for the rebar, and pouring the slab. Bringing the rebar out of the ground and setting forms. Pouring some walls, and there's the finished digester tanks. And now they're backfilled, and they're ready for equipment, which has not been installed yet. They're working this summer to get all the concrete in the ground, so then later through the fall and the winter they'll come back and start putting in equipment. And then finally the biosolid storage tanks. These are above grade storage tanks. Right now they're working on leveling the base, and they'll be pouring a slab, and then a specialized contractor will come in and put those tanks in yet this fall. A little bit on construction status and schedule. Again, our substantial completion date for this liquid side of this project is May of 2014. We'll start running water through it at that time. It is a biological process that will take a few months to get going and working the way we want. And so throughout the summer next year, we'll be doing startup, and final completion is the end of October 2014. Currently on schedule for completion, the contractor handed out a schedule at the last construction meeting, which we have every other week, and his schedule was still tracking for those dates. A summary of the status on pay requests to date. Approximately $9.5 million of John T. Jones' $23.4 million contract has been requested for payment, so the status on that is 40%. That is the general construction contract. The electrical construction contract from Muth is $1,265,000 of just over $4.5 million, so that's 28%. And then the Williams Heating and Plumbing is just over $630,000 of the $2,188,000 contract, so just shy of 30%. The overall, when you add it up, is just around 38% complete on the project. The next one is change orders as far as costs, project costs. In February, there was change order 1 was run for a cost of just over $40,000. There's been a few other items that have come up, pretty similar amount. I believe there's 4 or 5 smaller items that we're putting together for a second change order. That will likely be the August 19th commission meeting in your packets. I don't have the exact number, it's not finalized, but it's in the same range as change order 1. And if you remember, we go into the project with a 5% contingency for change orders, so we're up very low on that range as far as the original budget. And just another little update, the Influent Pump Station bid opening, which is, if you remember, the pump station that will bring the flow from the city the 2.5 miles out to the plant. The bid opening for that project is tomorrow. So look for asking at your next meeting on the 19th to award that contract. We, of course, will have the bid tab and review of that project at that time. And that's all I have for an update. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. Or
What is our engineer's estimate for the Influent pump station?
$10 million.
10 million.
Yep.
And do you have a sense of how many bidders we're likely to have?
It looks like we have 4 to 5 general contractors on the list and 3 to 4 mechanical and electrical. We did do a lot of notifications to area contractors, not only in state, but the surrounding states, because we weren't getting a lot of people pulling plans. A lot of people, said that they were very busy, but we did get up to 4 to 5 potential bidders that have said they were planning on bidding. So we're hoping that they will put in bids tomorrow.
Carla, I noticed, I was out there yesterday, they're working 7 days a week, huh?
They are. We do have an inspector out there, and some things they're just doing site cleanup where we don't have someone full-time if they're just picking up their equipment. But otherwise, yes, they are working to take advantage of the nice weather now to get ahead. You never can tell exactly how the weather's going to shake out through the winter. So they're trying to go when the weather's cooperating as much as they can.
That's good. We should be done on time.
Yes.
If I could, a related question for Mr. Zuroff. Are we in good shape with operator certifications and operator training for this facility?
We are. Mr. Bresnan did go ahead and get certification for the facility. We will have to hire a chief operator for the new water reclamation, but Mr. Bresnan has gone ahead and done that to at least get started for certification and operation of the plant.
I assume that there must be some startup services with your contract and with the contractor?
Yes. There's pretty extensive startup and training through the contract with the individual equipment people, and yes, our company as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Kessel?
President Johnson and Commission, one of the things we kicked around today with Apex was bringing the Commission on site and doing a tour. We could facilitate a tour at not only this facility, but also the Public Works building, since they're in fairly close proximity to one another. We were hoping that September 16th would be a good day, and the hope was that we could start a commission meeting at 3 o'clock with the tour, and then conclude those tours and simply hold our commission meeting thereafter. So if that date works, or if you think that's a good idea, we'd like to facilitate those arrangements for the commission.
Is that our normal meeting date?
Yes, it is.
Well, it should work.
Okay. Okay, we'll start making arrangements for that commission meeting to start at 3, and then go out to the facility then and the Public Works building at the same time.
You'll send us a meeting notice so we don't have to remember.
Yes, Ms. Binstock is excellent at that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, I just want to say, each time we get a report on this project, whether it's from Apex or our Public Works Director, it sure sounds like this one is proceeding along very well, and I think we're going to be quite pleased with it. It's it's not only important to our citizens, but as we heard from Mr. Kessel earlier, it's important to the refinery and it's important to citizens of South Hart too. So I think to this point, we're quite pleased, and don't disappoint us tomorrow with that bid, okay? All right. We have a 6 o'clock, and that's another update on the Public Works Building by architect Jan Perkel. And Jan, are you ready to start? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Let's see. The project at Dickinson Public Works is going along fairly well, and we have some pictures here tonight for you. We have the footings and foundations installed, and a lot of the site work is complete. Right now, they are putting up the precast walls, and I have got some pictures here to show you, sort of a walk around the building. The first picture is of the shop. You're kind of looking at the inside of the building. So, and the cranes on number 1. Number 2 is the inside of the vehicle storage area. So that's the large area where all the buildings and the Public Works vehicles will be stored. Number 3, this is on the other side of the wall. That's the double T's, they're called. Concrete wall panels, and that's the vehicle storage area. That's sort of this building is an angle, but I'll call it the north side of the building, but we sort of have it skewed on the site. Let's see. Number 4, we're showing the roof deck being installed over the vehicle storage area. Number 5, this is the big crane out there that is erecting the panels. You can kind of see the whole site there. And number 6, that is a little surprise we encountered. We also found rock on our site, and some of these rocks you can see are the size of a truck. So there was a change order to move some of these rocks out of the way, and my understanding is we're going to be recycling them. The city will be crushing them, and so they will be reused. Number 7, this is the east side of the building, sort of the northeast corner. That's the vehicle storage area, and the shorter wall panels, that's the chemical storage area that's, it's connected to the building, but there's no direct access, so the fumes and things like that from any of the chemical storage for the weeds doesn't come back into the building. Number 8, that's some of the large roof joists showing right in front of the vehicle. It's staged and ready to be installed. And these pictures were taken last week, by the way. Number 9 is sort of a further out picture of the east side of the building. That's where all the vehicles will be going in and out, sort of facing to the southeast. Number 10 is they're showing a crane lifting off floor planks, hollow core floor planks that will be the floor for the mechanical room on the second floor. Number 11 is that mechanical area where those planks were going to go, right in that general area. Number 12 is showing they're lifting an 80-foot long steel joist that will be spanning over the vehicle storage area. Number 13 is, this is a second building going on the site. This is the animal shelter. They have the footings and foundations in. And this is the in-floor heating system that you're seeing here on 13 and 14, 2 different views of the animal shelter. And that will be directly west of the Public Works. And this again is looking across the animal shelter footing and foundation area towards the Public Works building. The project is on schedule. In fact, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. The contractor has a very aggressive schedule, and even though we had some rain delays and some other delays, I think overall the project, they might be further behind than they want to be, but as far as the project and what we have in the contract, they are ahead of schedule, so that's all going well. We've had a few change orders so far. Mostly it's getting equipment and moving it around and changing sizes and things like that, and we are having some mechanical and electrical things that had to change and some site changing on fuel islands and things like that. So, but otherwise the project is going well. We have a construction meeting on this Wednesday. We will be having a meeting. We have them every 2 weeks. They will be starting framing the animal shelter this next week, or maybe later in this week they hope to start. And they want to do the paving around the building yet this fall. So they will clean up the site a little bit and it won't be so muddy over the winter for them to work. And that's it. Any other questions?
Any comments, questions? What, again, can you refresh our memory on what is the anticipated completion date? You said they're on schedule.
It'll be next year in 2014 towards the spring.
Spring of 2014? Okay. Anything else?
They had hoped to get the animal shelter up and running sooner, but there's some scheduling issues between contractors, so I don't know. If it was up to the general, I think it would happen, but some of the other contractors aren't.
The animal shelter will probably be completed after the Public Works building?
No, it'll be before, but they had
Before.
hoped to have it done extremely
okay.
soon, but I don't know if that's going to happen. We have to have a little more cooperation between everybody, so we'll see if that can happen.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think we'll move down to the regular timetable agenda, or to the regular agenda, and go to tab 7, Public Works, and hear from our Public Works Director, Gary.
President Johnson, Commission, thank you. I want to thank Carla Olson and Jan Perkel for giving the update and presentations on the building. They are exciting projects. Last Friday I did walk around the Public Works site, and that is a big building, and I think it'll be a wonderful asset to the city of Dickinson. I just have a couple more updates on a couple projects. Carla Olson did mention tomorrow we have the influent pump station bid. Also on the 12th of August, we have 2 bid openings. We have the 18-inch water line from the tank to States Avenue. That'll be bid. And also the States Avenue Storm Water Project will be bid on August 12th. A couple of ongoing projects, the water tank recoating project on 4th Avenue, the tank on 4th Avenue East. I believe they taking the curtains down today, and the sandblasting and all that should be done and hopefully painted soon. The water main replacement project, some of that was on Villard and the boring. On the railroad tracks, they've moved to 2nd Street East. There's a couple blocks of water main replacement there that they should be starting soon.
Okay. You're busy.
It's busy for everybody.
Yeah. Any questions for the Public Works Director? Okay. Community development, Ed, can we cover that item A? Can we do that before we do the timetables?
Yes, we can, Mr. President. This is an amendment to the existing Sundance Coves Plan Unit development to relocate portions of the medium-density and high-density zoning districts as part of the PUD along the east half of the Coves PUD. As a result of the amendment, we will lower the density or the total number of dwelling units that could be allowed within it. City staff recommends approval of this zoning text amendment, or the PUD zoning designation amendment, with one condition of approval. The site, just for public reference, the site is located 1/2 mile east of the intersection of 10th Avenue East and 21st Street West on the south side. Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Curtin. I guess a question for Mr. Colling. This is not a resolution, or there is a resolution?
Mr. President, there's not a resolution for this. This is an amendment of the agreement, and those PUD agreements are held by Mr. Corton's office, so you just need a motion to approve the amendment as presented.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Curtin on this item?
I'll move we approve the amendment.
I'll second it.
We have the motion to approve in the second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. So I'm going to ask right now, are there any items by city commissioners that you'd like to bring up?
I have one item that I can bring up now under
Okay.
Commissioner's agenda, and that is just a general conversation about building permits. I don't think any of our staff probably likes the situation we're in with the difficulty we're having getting building permits moved through our system. I think it's come to a point that it's really hurting our community, our difficulty in getting them through. I'm not saying that anything is being done wrong, but I think we've got to really work hard to try to do something different. I know I've talked to Mr. Kessel about this a lot. I've talked to Mr. Watson, Mr. Curtin. I know everybody's working hard, but I really think it's come to a point that it's really hurting development in our community. I don't know the answers because I don't sit in your offices 50 hours a week or whatever it is, so I can't make suggestions as to specific remedies for moving things through. I just really think that it's got to be an issue, though, that really needs some attention. One of the things, I know you've been meeting as a staff, I think, to try to figure out a way to get the system working better. But have we worked with the users? Have we met with the users? You know, and I'm not talking about a standing committee or a regular involvement of builders or anything, but would it be helpful to bring a handful of builders in, a handful of developers, to give you suggestions about what might work better? I know you get them extemporaneously. I know you get them anecdotally as your phone rings. I know you're getting that. But would it be good to meet in a situation that's not a venting situation to really try to solve some of the problem of moving them through? I even find myself wondering, you know, I know there's technical approval, and we are contracting a lot of that out to, I believe, 3 different consultants, maybe? 3 different private companies?
Commissioner Jackson, the engineering department has 2 different consulting firms at this time. We just got civil science on board, and there is a learning curve there. I'm having a discussion with them tomorrow.
Sure.
And so...
I find myself wondering if perhaps the administrative side of it is the more difficult side, or as difficult as the technical review, and if we shouldn't even be considering contracting out the actual administration of the building permits. Maybe that's not practical. I don't know. I know that as a city, we've got to have an attitude of facilitating these projects. We've got to have, you know, get code compliance, get proper engineering review, get things right, but have an attitude of trying to move them through as fast as we can. It seems sometimes that that there are so many roadblocks, and again, I'm not there. So, you know, I'm not expecting us to solve the issue tonight, but I wanted to bring it up because I really do think it's a serious issue for our community, for the growth of our community right now.
I would have to agree with Commissioner Jackson. This is probably the first year that we've had non-productive, or non-production, I don't know what better term to use as far as getting things done, developers complaining. Is there a way where you could hold the CO, but yet keep them moving forward until they actually have everything completed?
I don't know that we can have it both ways. You know, in this meeting, we've had some conversation about development that perhaps wasn't done so well, and that we, you know, should be inspecting more as it goes along. And I think if we do things fast without the complete technical review, you're going to end up with more problems like that. And I think we have to keep this in the proper context that, you know, in 2010, we thought it was a big deal when we issued $75 million in building permits, because that was a record for us. And then 2011 was 125 million. 2012, with alterations and additions, it went over 400 million. So from the time we thought it was a big deal at 75 million, it grew by a factor of more than 5 times. The city engineering staff hasn't grown by a factor of 5 times. We had one city engineer then, we have one city engineer today. And that's the problem, as I see it, is that you have tremendous workload. You know, the workload has grown, but the capacity to process it has not grown as fast. And that's our challenge. And I think essentially we have to do 2 things here. One's already been mentioned, that is outsourcing. We have to outsource as much as we can, but keep in mind when we outsource, whether we have 3 or 4 engineering firms we're outsourcing to, it doesn't mean that the total workload goes away for engineering, because they have to work with the people they're outsourcing. They not only have to approve or go through all the projects that the developers are doing, but you heard just 2 examples of engineering projects involving stormwater that sounded pretty complex to me. And I mean, you just can't sit down, take a half hour with that, and boom, you got that one solved. I mean, these are pretty extensive projects. I think the other part of the solution is we have to continue to try recruit trained technical staff. And the market there is tough. The housing costs here are high, so it takes time. Now, I assume we're still trying to recruit an assistant city engineer. Mm-hmm. And I know we had made an offer and we got a turn down there. My suggestion, if it would be possible, is if we get 2 candidates, 2 candidates that are acceptable, I would suggest we hire them both. Now, I know it's been a challenge to get one and get one to accept, much less 2, but I would recommend we hire 2. We have the workload to handle it. While we're not going to try to retire Mr. Watson anytime sooner than he wants to, but I mean, how do I say this politically correct? You're older than average, right?
He's experienced.
You have a lot of experience. And so chances are an assistant city engineer would have a good opportunity to be city engineer here someday, and it might not hurt to have 2 on staff. That's what I'm trying to say. But so I would encourage that, you know, we keep going there, and that we have, the only other alternative is to outsource as much as possible. I guess there is a third alternative, and that is we put a moratorium on further development, or you put some sort of way to slow it down. That is, we won't accept another request for building permits until we've completed some that we have in process. And maybe I'm missing some things, but you go ahead, Mr. Watson.
Mr. President, Commission, I just want to assure the Commission that the engineering department is doing everything possible to move these developments through. We're coming up with a number of different ideas, and the latest one is that we intend to bring in an engineering firm and sit down with them for a half a day and go through all their projects that they have in town so that we can get them satisfied, and then we'll move on to the next engineering firm. So we're going to try whatever we can in order to facilitate the development in Dickinson. As you mentioned, Mr. President, we are just so understaffed right now that we just have Loretta and myself. And you know, you mentioned $150 million worth of CIP projects that we have to get built this year and next. And quite frankly, just the details of those alone take more than my time. And besides that, I still have the duties of the city engineer and to the citizens of the town. It's just an overwhelming load for the engineering department right now. But be assured that we're investigating every possible avenue in order to facilitate getting these developments through.
Mr. President, the reason I bring this up tonight, the workload is undeniable. We all know it. It's undeniable, and the numbers of additional staff, if we could snap our fingers, we need it. We absolutely need it, but we also know that's not going to happen overnight. I bring this up tonight just to continue to urge you guys to work on this, and I know you are, and will continue to. It's not just engineering. Mr. Watson, I know you just said it. If you had no duties whatsoever, no involvement with the building permit process, these projects that we have going, coordinating consultants, contractors, concepts, that's more than a full-time job. That's more than a full-time job. This is a big deal. That won't be as much 2 or 3 years from now, probably, but it certainly is today. So I bring it up just to encourage all of us to try to find ways to move this along faster. I do think it's critical. I hope we don't have to talk moratorium or anything like that. I don't think we will, but we need to keep working to find a way to make our system better.
But if we can increase our capacity to process, then I think we have to at least discuss and talk about the possibility of slowing development, or at least communicating to developers that the lead times from the time they apply till the time they're finally cleared, permitted, could take quite some time.
Mr. President and Commission, and really I think we still need to be cognizant that the turnaround and review time for many of these developments is very definitely dependent on the quality of engineering done on all the developments. So that plays an important factor here. I think there's a lot of engineering firms in town, and of varying quality, and that's one of the problems we're seeing.
Mr. Watson, do you have to meet individually with all of them, or can you do a group meeting? I know you're in meetings a lot, and that really takes away from your productive time, because I know when I'm in a meeting, I don't get anything done on my job either. So can there be more group meetings instead of all individual?
Commissioner, really we need to, it's really per project, because all of the comments are pretty identified per the individual projects. There's no really group comments, and yes, we need to meet with them individually, and sometimes we don't need to meet with them. A lot of times the engineering is adequate, and we don't have to really meet with the engineers at all. We can issue a building permit, and they can move forward. But on those troubled cases, we really have to meet with them individually, and in some cases, many times. on one project.
If I may, President Johnson, I just wanted to mention, Engineer Watson kind of alluded to it, but I think it's an important point that Ms. Marshak was retasked. I mean, she was hired by us to be a GIS coordinator. And because of the skill set and the education that she had, we were able to retask her to be a project manager. And so we are doing things in-house to try to facilitate movement on building permits and other engineering issues. And I commend Mr. Watson for retasking her and Ms. Marshak for taking on that task so willingly. So we're working within the staff we have in a way that's, I think, as efficient as we can.
Okay, well, we can come back to this. We have a 6:15 set of timetable items, and there could be people here waiting to have these heard. So let's go to that 6:15. These are all public hearings. They're rezoning petitions, and Mr. Catan, are you presenting these, or is Mr. Coley?
No, I am, Mr. President.
Okay, I'll let you, why don't you just go ahead and we'll get started.
Okay, the first one is Public Works rezoning petition. This is a rezoning petition from ag to general industrial, which is compatible with the surrounding area. As we've seen a slide earlier today, the site is going to be accessed off of a new road, Public Works Boulevard. It is approximately 25 acres. City staff recommends approval of the rezoning petition contingent upon one condition. Mr. President?
Okay, and this is ordinance number what, Mr. Coley?
Mr. President, this will be Resolution 1517, 1517.
1517, okay. If there's anyone from the public who would like to speak to this ordinance, you may do so now. Just come to the podium, state your name. We'd hear your comments. There's no one from the public. Any comments or questions by city commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading ordinance 1517.
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson? Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. Let you continue.
Okay, the next item is a rezoning petition from low-density residential to community commercial. The site is located the northwest corner of the intersection of 10th Avenue East and the business loop. The site is approximately 2.21 acres. The Planning and Zoning Commission and city staff recommend approval contingent upon the two conditions. Mr. President?
I have a question now. Is this the existing come and go site?
That is correct. They want to do an expansion, add additional fuel pumps as part of their facility.
Okay, so it's, all right. Thank
They
you.
had, Mr. President, I could just add on to it. They had originally came to us. They wanted to expand it much further than what they're proposing today. They wanted to have, in essence, a truck stop there due to its location, doing in the middle of the city and the rest. City staff was not in favor of that, and they modified their condition to more of a smaller envelope. One is more reflective of a gasoline station convenience store instead of a truck stop that they initially proposed.
I know that's a busy intersection for us, and eventually it probably needs to go through some sort of redesign with what they're planning to do there. Does it compromise the city's options at all in maybe re-engineering that intersection at a future date?
No, they're going to the east. So we were concerned that, being in the middle of the city, last thing we want to do is have additional truck traffic going to a big truck stop. We feel that that area within the city itself should be a gas station or a convenience store rather than a truck stop. A truck stop should be located on the periphery of the city.
Okay. Mr. Colon, is this 1518?
That is correct, Mr. President.
Okay. Again, if there's anyone from the public that wishes to comment regarding this proposed ordinance, you may do so now. Come to the podium, state your name, we'll hear your comments.
Good evening. My name is Josh House. I'm with Come and Go Convenience Stores out of West Des Moines, Iowa. Mr. President, City Commission, I'm just here today to answer any questions that you may have. Currently, we have the property just to the east of our existing store under contract, and so the first portion of our process will be here to get that property rezoned. I'd like to also note real quick that we're not getting the entire property rezoned to community commercial. It's just the portion that will be the convenience store, and then the remaining portion, north portion of the property will remain R1. And so it is our hopes to rebuild that store within the community. And actually last week, last Wednesday, we had the president of our company in town, and I toured various areas around town, and hopefully this is one of a couple more locations that we could add. And it may be beneficial the next time that I'm here to give a brief overview of Come and Go, what we are, how many stores we have, and give you an impression of the type of facility that we will be building here at this particular location. So I'm open to any questions that the commission may have.
Can you describe how the footprint of your store will change from how it is today, just in general terms?
Yes, sure. So currently we have a less than a 2,000 square foot building. They're very dated. And so what we would be doing is adding a new 5,000 square foot building. We'd be having 10, or I believe 8 right now, proposed fueling stations, and then an additional 2 diesel. Those diesel islands will not be catering to semi-truck traffic. It'll be more of your large trailers, straight trucks, those type of users. And so we do not have any truck parking on site. It's just strictly catering to more car traffic in town. This new 5,000 square foot building that we will be building, we specialize in fresh pizza, fresh sandwiches, made to order sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, expanded coffee bar, whatnot. And so we feel that obviously with the growth that the city has experienced over the past couple of years, that we can capitalize on this market. We've built a few new locations, one being in Watford City and the other in Tioga, and I'm currently working on a few projects within Williston. So I'm covering quite a bit of area. We have the one existing store here in Dickinson, and we want that footprint to remain. So this is our first push forward to rebuild that store.
So will you be demolishing the existing building and?
We
then-
will.
I'm familiar with the one in Watford City. Would this one be comparable in size to that?
It will be the exact same footprint as what Watford City currently has.
Okay.
And yeah, unfortunately, the existing site is just too small for our expanded footprint. So we're excited to move forward with this.
All right. Any other comments or questions here? Well, we thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Is there anybody else that would wish to comment regarding this proposed ordinance? If not, any other comments or questions by city commissioners? Would there be a motion regarding the first reading?
Mr. President, move to approve ordinance, first reading ordinance 1518.
Second.
We have the motion and the second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Ullman?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So the motion carries. Mr. Curtan?
Mr. President, the next item is a rezone petition for the Northern Meadows Hills, or the proposed development. This is a request for agricultural to low-density residential, medium-density residential, and planned unit development. The site is situated immediately to the west of State Avenue and to the south of 40th Street Southwest. At the last Planning Commission meeting, one of the partners with this development, Mr. Cook, has a development to the east, Cook Meadow Hills, 4th edition. They have an ongoing stormwater problem that the neighbors showed up, surrounding property owners showed up, and it was brought up at the meeting that that issue should be resolved. So city staff is recommending a continuance until the applicants had a chance to work with the city engineer to resolve the outstanding issues with respect to the development that's to the east, and also to meet with the surrounding property owners. So we're recommending a continuance tonight until that issue has been resolved.
So you just assume we not act on first reading?
That is correct.
Are there any objections by city commissioners to choose not to act on this one tonight?
Maybe a question. We talked about that at Planning and Zoning and decided we should go ahead with the rezoning, but make those points during the plating process.
We went back and forth, Commissioner Jackson, if you recall that they had already started grading because it's outside of our jurisdiction to the west. And the only way that the city could address the grading issue would be to approve the preliminary plat. The preliminary plat claim came after we had already voted on the rezoning. We approved the preliminary plat based upon conditions so that we would have jurisdiction or at least some authority to address the existing grading that's going to the west. So this would allow us, if we continue this would be our leverage to make that issue a forefront as part of the negotiation and to rectify before we move forward.
Thank you. I recall now. Yeah. Thank you.
Does this also go back to the issue that you brought up earlier, Commissioner Steiner? This is in that same neck of the woods, right? And you were hoping to be able to push along negotiations between the developer and the homeowner as well, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So kind of covers all of those bases.
So, Mr. Colling, do we need to do anything other than just go by this?
Mr. President, if you wish, you can allow your minutes to reflect that the commission took no action on this matter.
I'm comfortable with that. I think that's the way it'll be then. Okay, we'll move to item number 4 there, Mr. Cruton.
The next item is a rezoning petition for multiple zoning districts to rural residential, general commercial, limited industrial, and general industrial. This is a rezone petition of the former BK subdivision, which is located to the north of the city, about a mile. It's located within the city's extraterritorial zone. The Planning and Zoning Commission and city staff recommend approval.
Okay, Mr. Colling, is this 1520?
Mr. President, given there was no action on the prior matter, this will be ordinance number 1519.
1519 then, okay. So if there's anyone from the public that wishes to comment regarding this ordinance 1519, the proposed ordinance, you may do so now. Just come to the podium, state your name, and we'll hear your comments. No one from the public wishes to comment. Any comments or questions by City Commission members? Is there a motion regarding 1519?
I'll move we approve first reading.
Second.
We have the motion to approve and the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Jackson? Aye. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. We have a 6:30 timetable. Agenda items. There are 2 special use permits on the agenda, and I assume these are yours too, Mr. Cruton?
Correct, Mr. President. This is a special use permit to construct apartments in the limited commercial zoning district, which is part of Lot 1, Block 6 of Cook Meadow Hills, 4th Edition. The zoning code allows multifamily housing approved within this particular zoning district. Just to let you know, as part of the condition of approval that is recommended by staff, this would be affordable housing project. They're looking at trying to get funding. They would have to get approval from the City Commission, the special use permit, before they apply for federal funding, and this property would be tied to either 20 or 30 or potentially 40 years to meet the affordable housing rate. And with that, I feel very comfortable to increasing the density in that particular area because it would be affordable housing. City staff and the Planning Commission do recommend approval based upon the attached 8 conditions. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Mr. Colling, this is a resolution. Its number is what?
Mr. President, this will be resolution 26-2013.
Okay, you've heard the city planner's presentation, introduction, recommendation. Any comments or questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have the motion to approve and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, then we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye. Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Item 2.
The last item we have for tonight under community development is a special use permit for a convenience storage facility. This facility is located to the east of 9th Avenue Southeast and to the south of the railroad tracks on Livestock Lane. This is a mini storage facility, and the Planning Commission and city staff recommend approval contingent upon the 8 attached conditions in the resolution. Mr. President?
I have a question. Is Burlington Northern actually owning this storage facility, or is there an individual that's owning this?
It's an individual that would be owning it, if I recall right. That is correct.
It's not,
just to the south of where their property is located.
right. It's not being operated by the railroad for railroad purposes then?
No.
Okay. Is it on railroad property? Is that?
It is on railroad property, yes. But the owner or the operator of that would be a private party, if I recall right. Is that true, Mr.?
Actually, I believe this will be leased from the BNSF Railroad. It won't be actually owned by the property owner.
Okay, can you identify yourself for the record?
Andrew Schrank with Highlands Engineering and Surveying.
Oh, okay, and so this is just for storing regular residential stuff? kinda like-
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
Within our code, that particular zoning district requires everything to be stored within the building, no outside storage, so we don't have that issue in that particular area, so it'd all be within. It'd be your standard mini storage facilities that you see around the city.
Mr. President?
Mr. Steiner?
It looks like development is limited to 440 storage units. Is that what they anticipate building, 440?
That is correct.
Okay, is that one building, do you know, or?
That's several buildings that they have proposed for that.
So it's kind of consistent in appearance with other storage facilities we see around the community?
Correct. If we look under the application, I think the last page that we have is the site plan. Whenever I have a special use permit, I always put a condition in there that they need to be consistent with it in order to avoid any ambiguity in the future. And so they need to be consistent with the site plan that they show, and I think it's the last item, yes. So they need to generally be in conformance with the number of units that they propose, and it looks like it's about 8 or 9 units, similar to what they're showing there.
Okay, any other comments? This is a resolution. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume it's 27-2013.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a motion regarding this item?
I'll make a motion to approve 27-2013.
I'll second.
We have the motion, the second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote then. Mrs. Stuckert?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. We'll go back to tab 9. We were having discussion regarding building permits. Is there anything else that you wanted to say regarding that topic?
I had nothing else.
Were there any other items by city commissioners?
Just one, over by Loaf and Jug, I've had quite a few calls again regarding putting in a signal light. So I called Larry Gangle, and he said it's up to the city. And he said it's a fairly reasonable expense, and it should be submitted through an interregional project scoping. Obviously, we just had one submitted, but that wasn't on it, so you know what he's talking about?
Well, I think this has been a topic, Commissioner Dukart, that we've talked quite a bit about. Chief Dossinger and his staff have done a great job of collecting data about the goings-on down there. We've received complaints for several years about speeding in that area. They put up a speed indicator. They have data collected that shows that for the most part people are in compliance. There is an occasional speeder that is quite excessive in their speed. We have no idea if that's the same person or several people, but not uncommon throughout the community. Using lights and or stop signs or yield signs, things of that nature, I think you'll hear Engineer Watson say is probably not a good use to slow traffic, to use traffic control devices of that order. We've batted around some other ideas about how to slow that traffic in the area. If we want to use urban roads funds, I think is what Mr. Gengel was suggesting, if I'm not mistaken. We have a priority set on the use of those funds. Certainly, if the commission saw that as a higher priority than the ones we've submitted, we can make that change. But I don't think a signalization is probably the best course of action.
No, we're talking about, maybe I didn't clarify myself good enough. On Highway 22 and 8th Street, where the truck route's going to be,
Oh,
right there in that corner. Not about the complaints that we're getting on 8th Street Southeast. This is just an actual signal light for when people coming in from 22 and they're coming off of 8th. That is becoming an issue, and I think it's going to get much worse when that truck route continues over there. So that's where they want the signal light. And he said it really, my understanding by him, it isn't that expensive to do, and that they would definitely consider that but we have to submit that we want it.
we've used a placeholder of about $300,000 for signalization of almost any intersection. Obviously, there'd be details that would create a more specific number for every intersection. Maybe Mr. Watson can address warrants and what type of warrants need to be met to justify a signalization, as Commissioner Dukart is suggesting.
Thank you, Mr. Kessel, Mr. President, Commissioners. The Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices has been adopted nationally and is actually the Bible for traffic control here in the United States and abroad, actually. And there are several warrants that must be met in accordance with that manual in order for a traffic signal to be installed. I am not prepared at this time to give you a summary of those warrants, although there are several peak hour volumes, 8-hour volumes. There's a number of warrants that could be met in order to install a traffic signal. But I think we need to be cautious in installing a traffic signal just anywhere the public seems to think that they're warranted. There are signals, there are locations within the city that I believe would warrant a signal before this particular location.
I think it would be helpful, and perhaps we can do this at the next meeting, where you can summarize those warrants to us, and then you must have someplace a list, and it may be contained within the comprehensive plan. I don't recall, but the intersections that we could possibly have signal lights at, and if you could put those in your priority, your suggested priority, first, second, third, fourth, so forth, you know, I think it'd be helpful for us to know and the public. But between now and the next meeting, if somebody could put together what those warrants are and include that in our packet. I know we've heard them before in prior meetings, but it's been some time.
President Johnson, just for the public's edification, they are listed in our comp plan, as you suggested, and I believe States and Fairway, States and 21st are two of them specifically mentioned that with a higher priority than the one that Commissioner Dukart is mentioning, but that's a report we can bring to you. Well,
and I mean, even the intersection I mentioned when we were talking about Loaf and Jug, you know, and along that whole eastern bypass, we've got access issues with all the commercial businesses out there. And even where 23rd now intersects with the west bypass, we're seeing more traffic there, and as the exit 59 further develops, and the hospital and Sanford Clinic come online, there's some other intersections that are going to be very busy. I know I've talked multiple times with one citizen that lives in that area. Each time I've talked with him, I get in my car and I drive down to that street, and maybe I hit it at the wrong time, but it's never as busy as the way it's described to me, either that intersection or the whole street. I guess I'm kind of agree with Mr. Watson. I see other intersections in this community that I think are not lighted right now that are probably a higher priority. Now, we'll have to see, as you mentioned, as the trucks route becomes more heavily used. I think another thing too is, with the jet service at the airport, I think that's off to a pretty good start, and that's probably meaning more traffic down there too because of that. So I wouldn't rule it out, but we have lots of candidates for stoplights.
I'll see if I can get a summary of the warrants necessary to install a signal for next commission.
Yeah, I know we've heard them before, but it was some time ago. And any other issues? Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission? If so, you can do it now. Just come to the podium, state your name. We'll hear your comments. There's no one from the public. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have the motion, the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries.